everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Have you ever walked into a meeting and your boss has their arms crossed and their brows all furrowed, and you instantly just wonder are they angry or are they stressed or are they just super focused?
Well, today we're going beyond words. We are diving into the world of body language where, even the slightest shift can speak volumes.
It's like a secret decoder ring for human behavior, right?
Absolutely. And we've got some excerpts here from this article called Understanding Body Language, What Are We Really Saying? And let me tell you, it is packed with insights. So we are going to uncover those hidden signals that tell us what people are really thinking and feeling, even if their words are saying something totally different.
It's amazing how much we communicate without even realizing it. Did you know that research suggests that a whopping 55% of communication is actually nonverbal? That's more than half.
Wait, so that means what we're saying only makes up 7%? That's wild. It is. Think about it. Someone can say, I'm fine. But if their arms are crossed and their jaw is clenched and they're avoiding eye contact, their body is telling a completely different story.
Yeah, it's like those poker players with the stone cold faces, right? They might be bluffing, but their tells give them away.
Exactly. Now let's unpack some specifics, starting with the most expressive part of us, our faces.
I've always been fascinated by facial expressions. There's just something so universal about them.
You're right. And there's science behind that. Psychologist Paul Ekman identified 6 basic emotions that are recognized across cultures: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, and surprise.
So no matter where you go in the world, those expressions have the same meaning. That's incredible. Imagine traveling to a country where you don't speak the language, but you can still read people's emotions just by looking at their faces.
It's like a built-in communication system that we all share. And it goes even deeper. Have you ever heard of microexpressions? They're these fleeting facial expressions that last for a fraction of a second, and they often reveal concealed emotions.
Whoa, seriously? So if someone is trying to hide their anger, a micro expression could flash across their face for a split second.
Exactly. It's like their true feelings are betraying them even if they're trying to keep a poker face.
Okay, that's seriously mind-blowing. I suddenly want to pay way more attention to everyone's faces.
You might be surprised by what you notice. Now let's move on to another powerful form of nonverbal communication. Gestures, particularly those made with our hands.
Oh, the language of hands. I use my hands a lot when I talk. I can't help it.
Many people do. And each gesture can send a different message. For instance, open palms have been associated with honesty and openness. Think about it. When someone swears to tell the truth, they often hold up their hand palm facing outward. It's like a subconscious way of signaling trustworthiness.
So if I'm trying to negotiate a deal, I should subtly show my palms to build rapport. That's fascinating. On the flip side, what about closed fists or finger pointing? Those seem way more aggressive.
You're picking up on it quickly. Finger pointing can definitely be perceived as aggressive or authoritative. It can be effective for drawing attention or emphasizing a point. But it can also create a confrontational atmosphere.
So it's all about context, right? Someone passionately explaining something might use finger pointing, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're angry.
Precisely. A speaker using finger pointing might just be emphasizing a point or trying to be persuasive. It's about considering the bigger picture, their tone of voice, and other cues to understand the true intention.
Okay, I'm going to be analyzing all my friends' hand gestures from now on.
You might be surprised by what you learn. Now let's shift our focus from hands to the way we hold our entire bodies, posture and stance.
Oh, this is where I know I could use some work. I'm a bit of a sloucher, especially when I'm tired.
Well, consider this. Imagine yourself in 2 scenarios. First, you're in a job interview, sitting up straight, shoulders back, making eye contact with the interviewer, projecting confidence, right?
Absolutely. It's like you're saying, I'm here, I'm capable, and I'm ready to take on this challenge.
Now picture yourself slouched over, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting nervously. What impression does that give?
Definitely not one of confidence or competence. More like, please don't pick me, I'd rather be anywhere else.
Exactly. It's amazing how much our posture can influence how others perceive us, and it goes beyond just sitting up straight. Have you heard of Amy Cuddy's research on power posing?
Vaguely. It's about how standing in certain poses can actually boost your confidence, right?
Yes. Cuddy suggested that holding expansive power poses for even a short time can actually alter hormone levels, increasing testosterone and decreasing cortisol, leading to increased feelings of confidence and power.
So if I strike a superhero pose before a big presentation, I'll feel more confident and perform better.
It's not quite that simple. There's been some debate about the replicability of Cuddy's findings, but the basic idea is fascinating, that our body language doesn't just reflect our emotions, it can actually influence them.
Wait, so I'm not just slouching because I'm tired. I'm actually making myself more tired by slouching.
There's a possibility of that. It's a two-way street. And it highlights how being mindful of our posture can be a powerful tool.
Okay, I'm officially motivated to improve my posture. It's like a life hack for confidence.
Exactly. And there's more to posture than just standing tall. Think about how you lean in or away during a conversation. Leaning in shows interest, while leaning back can signal disengagement or discomfort.
I never thought about it like that, but it makes perfect sense. It's like those subtle movements are subconsciously saying, I'm interested in what you're saying, or I need some space.
Precisely. They're cues we often send and receive without even realizing it.
This is also fascinating. I feel like I'm just starting to scratch the surface of this whole body language thing.
We've only just begun. There's so much more to explore, from the nuances of eye contact to the fascinating ways body language can differ across cultures.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned cultural differences earlier. I'm dying to hear more about that.
Well, let's take a quick pause here, and when we come back, we'll delve into how those subtle, unspoken signals can change meaning depending on where you are in the world.
Sounds good to me. Welcome back, everyone. I'm still reeling from all those body language insights. It's like a whole new world has opened up.
And we're just getting started. We talked about posture influencing our confidence, but have you ever considered how eye contact plays into the mix?
Oh, absolutely. Eye contact is so powerful, but it can be tricky to navigate. I mean, some people are comfortable with intense eye contact, while others find it intimidating or even aggressive.
You're right, it's a delicate balance. And it gets even more complex when you factor in cultural differences. What's considered appropriate in one culture can be totally off-putting in another.
So we can't assume that a direct gaze means the same thing everywhere.
Exactly. For example, in Western cultures, strong eye contact is often seen as a sign of confidence, honesty, and respect. But in some Asian cultures, prolonged eye contact can be perceived as disrespectful or even challenging.
That's so interesting. So what might be seen as engaging and attentive in one culture could be interpreted as rude or confrontational in another. Wow, that's a recipe for miscommunication.
It is. Imagine a business meeting between a Western executive who values direct eye contact and a Japanese client who finds it uncomfortable. If they're not aware of these cultural nuances, it could easily lead to misunderstandings and missed opportunities.
It's almost like you need a cultural translator just for eye contact. Are there other examples of how body language can vary across cultures?
Absolutely. Let's talk about personal space for a moment. In some cultures, like in many Latin American countries, people stand closer together when they're talking, and frequent touching is a sign of warmth and connection.
Right. I've noticed that in some cultures, hugging or kissing on the cheek is a common greeting, even among acquaintances.
Exactly. But in other cultures, like in many Northern European countries, people tend to prefer more personal space and view excessive touching as intrusive. So a hug from a well-meaning American could make a Scandinavian person feel quite uncomfortable.
It's fascinating how these unspoken rules can vary so widely. It makes you realize how important cultural awareness is, not just for avoiding awkwardness, but for building genuine connections and understanding.
I couldn't agree more. And it's not just about respecting differences, it's also about leveraging those differences to your advantage. Knowing how to adapt your body language to different cultural contexts can be incredibly valuable, especially in business or international relations.
So instead of just assuming everyone communicates like we need to be more observant and adaptable.
Exactly. It's about being mindful of those subtle cues and adjusting our behavior accordingly. It's like learning a new language, but with your body.
I love that analogy. Speaking of learning, there's another aspect of body language I've always wondered about, the whole mirroring thing. Like when you subtly mimic someone's movements to build rapport.
Ah, yes. Mirroring. It's a fascinating phenomenon. When we feel a connection with someone, we often unconsciously mirror their body language, their posture, their gestures, even their facial expressions.
So it's not just a pickup artist trick, it's an actual thing.
It absolutely is. It's linked to a phenomenon called the chameleon effect, which suggests that we're wired to subconsciously mimic others as a way of building rapport and signaling empathy.
But I've also heard that mirroring can backfire if it's too obvious. Is that true?
Absolutely. If someone feels like you're deliberately copying their every move, it can come across as creepy or insincere. The key is subtlety. Subtle, unconscious reflection is what builds connection, not overt imitation.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between being genuine and being aware of those subtle mirroring cues.
Exactly. It's like a dance. You're responding to your partner's movements, but you're also bringing your own style and personality to the interaction.
This is making me rethink all those times I felt instantly connected to someone. Maybe it was partly because we were subconsciously mirroring each other's body language.
It's certainly a possibility. And now that you're aware of it, you can start paying attention to those subtle cues and see how they influence your interactions.
I'm definitely going to be more observant from now on.
Yep.
It's like having a secret window into people's subconscious.
And speaking of subconscious, we've been talking a lot about reading other people's body language. But what about our own? We're constantly sending out signals without even realizing it.
Okay, that's a bit scary. Like, what if I'm unknowingly projecting insecurity or boredom?
It happens to all of us. We might be slouching without realizing it, or avoiding eye contact because we're nervous, or fidgeting because we're anxious.
So how do we become more aware of our own body language blind spots?
Self-awareness is key. Start paying attention to how you hold your body in different situations. Notice your posture, your gestures, your facial expressions. Are you sending the message you intend to send?
It's like we need to become our own body language coaches.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful tools we have is our breath. When we're stressed or anxious, our breath tends to become shallow and rapid.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. My heart starts racing, my palms get sweaty, and I can barely breathe.
But by consciously slowing down and deepening our breath, we can actually calm our nervous system and shift our entire demeanor.
Wait, so something as simple as changing my breathing can actually impact my body language and how I feel.
Absolutely. It's like a secret weapon against stress and anxiety, and it works wonders for improving your posture and presence.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that next time I'm feeling nervous. Just breathe deeply and project calmness. I love it.
And remember, practice makes perfect. The more you pay attention to your body language, the more you'll develop an intuitive sense of how to use it to your advantage.
This is also empowering. It's like we're taking control of our nonverbal communication and using it to create more positive and impactful interactions.
Exactly. It's about harnessing the power of body language to communicate more effectively, build stronger relationships, and navigate social situations with greater ease.
I'm feeling so energized by all of this. It's like a whole new world of possibilities has opened up.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the beginning. The more you explore the nuances of body language, the more you'll discover its incredible power.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to shift gears and talk about some practical strategies for putting all this knowledge into action.
I'm ready when you are. Let's dive into some specific tips and techniques that you can start using today to improve your body language and unlock its full potential.
Sounds good to me. All right, so we are back and we are ready to put all this body language knowledge into action. I am feeling pumped to actually use these insights, not just analyze everyone around me.
That's the spirit. It's one thing to understand the theory, but the real magic happens when you start applying it to your own life.
Yeah.
So let's dive into some practical tips and techniques that you can start using today.
Okay, hit me with your best body language hacks. I am ready to upgrade my communication game.
Well, first things first, posture. We talked about how important it is for projecting confidence. But good posture is also crucial for your overall well-being.
So it's not just about looking good, it's about feeling good too.
Exactly. Slouching can lead to back pain, neck pain, even headaches. Plus, when you're slumped over, you're literally compressing your chest cavity, which restricts your breathing.
Whoa, I never thought about it like that. So by improving my posture, I could actually boost my energy levels and overall health.
Okay, I'm sold. But how do we actually do that? I mean, I know I should sit up straight,
Huh.
but I always end up slouching back down without even realizing it.
It takes practice and awareness, but there's some simple things you can do. First, be mindful of your workspace. Make sure your chair is ergonomically designed and adjusted to the right height. Your computer screen should be at eye level so you're not craning your neck.
Okay, that makes sense. I've definitely been guilty of hunching over my laptop for hours on end. No wonder my neck hurts.
And throughout the day, do some simple posture checks. Imagine a string attached to the crown of your head, gently pulling you upward. Roll your shoulders back and down. Relax your jaw and lengthen your spine.
I'm doing it right now. It feels so much better already. See, it's about making those small adjustments throughout the day to retrain your body to hold itself in a more aligned and balanced way.
Okay, posture check. What about those power poses we talked about earlier? Should I be striking a superhero pose in the bathroom before every important meeting?
It might not be necessary to go full superhero, but incorporating some expansive postures into your routine can definitely boost your confidence. Try standing with your feet, hip-width apart, hands on your hips, chest lifted. Hold that pose for a minute or two while you focus on your breath.
I can already feel my confidence soaring. Is there anything else I can do to project an aura of I've got this.
Eye contact is crucial. We talked about how it varies across cultures, but in general, making eye contact with someone shows that you're engaged, interested, and confident.
But what about those times when eye contact feels super intense or awkward? Like, how much is too much? It's a dance, remember? The key is to find that sweet spot between holding someone's gaze and briefly looking away. Try the triangle technique. Look at one eye for a few seconds, then shift to the other eye, then briefly glance down at their mouth before returning to their eyes.
It's like we're creating a visual connection without staring them down.
Uh,
Like it. Okay, so posture, eye contact. What else is on the body language checklist?
let's talk about hand gestures. We use our hands constantly when we communicate, but are we using them effectively?
Okay, confession time. I use my hands a lot when I talk, like maybe too much. Sometimes I feel like I'm conducting an orchestra or something.
Well, expressive hand gestures can be engaging, but too much movement can be distracting. The key is to use hand gestures purposefully to emphasize key points or illustrate your ideas.
So instead of just flailing my arms around, I should be more deliberate with my movements.
Exactly. Think of your hands as tools to enhance your communication. Use them to create visual metaphors to highlight contrast, to show the size or shape of something you're describing. It's like we're adding another layer of meaning to our words with our hands. I'm going to start paying more attention to how I use my hands. Now, what about those times when you're not sure what to do with your hands? Like in a job interview or a presentation when you're feeling nervous.
That's a common problem. When we're nervous, we tend to fidget clasp our hands tightly or stuff them in our pockets, all behaviors that can signal insecurity or discomfort.
So what's the solution? What should we do with our hands when we're feeling self-conscious?
Try the steeple gesture. Gently touch your fingertips together, forming a steeple shape. It's a neutral, calming gesture that projects confidence and thoughtfulness.
I've seen people do that. It always looks so sophisticated. I'm going to try that next time I'm feeling anxious.
And remember, practice makes perfect. The more you pay attention to your body language, the more you'll develop an intuitive sense of how to use it to your advantage.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for communication. But before we wrap up, I have one last question. What about those times when we're trying to read someone else's body language, but their signals are mixed or confusing?
That's a great question. Body language is complex, and it's not always a perfect science. The key is to look for clusters of cues rather than focusing on a single gesture or expression.
So if someone says they're fine, but their arms are crossed and they're avoiding eye contact, it's probably safe to assume they're not actually fine.
Exactly. Look for consistency between their words and their nonverbal cues. And remember, context is everything. Consider the situation, the relationship, and any cultural factors that might be at play.
It's like we're becoming body language detectives. I'm going to be observing everyone with my newfound skills.
Just remember, don't overanalyze every little twitch or gesture. Sometimes a crossed arm is just a crossed arm.
Good point. I'll try not to drive myself crazy trying to decipher every single signal. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure. I'm always thrilled to see people embrace the power of body language.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But I encourage everyone listening to keep exploring this fascinating topic. Pay attention to the nonverbal cues around you. Observe how people communicate with their bodies. And most importantly, start experimenting with your own body language.
Absolutely. And remember, the journey of mastering body language is ongoing. The more you practice, the more confident and effective you'll become in all your interactions.
So until next time, happy decoding, everyone.